for you today using the new Botanical bunny that was launched on HSN at the beginning of this month, March 2022. Once you open the package, you get 4 pieces. I know there was some confusion about that. You get the outline, the botanical cut, an egg, and a butterfly. There is no sentiment in this, so you will need to get your own sentiment if you're going to make a card. You are going to need the following items. You're going to need 3 sheets of solid paper, such as this piece of Centura Pearl here, 3 sheets of coordinating pattern paper, such as this piece here, 3 pieces of ribbon. I've taken some from my stash. You're going to need some glue dots, gesso and Mod Podge, or gesso and Mod Podge. Now these are optional, but I'll explain why you might need those later. You're going to pre-cut the words Happy Easter, 3 coordinating colors of ink, such as your Harmony Water Reactive. This one is the fuchsia. Low-tack tape, a die cutter, and a piece of wood or a photo frame. Now I've used this piece of wood, Home Deco. It hangs. I've used it several times. You can kind of see an imprint of one of the last things I've done with it. That's okay with me because I like the rustic look, especially in home decor. And because it was starting to wear a little bit, I did cover it with the gesso yesterday. So what we're going to do is I have already pre-cut 2 of my pieces. So they will line up like so. And above that will be the Happy, and below that will be the Easter. So I'm going to show you how to make the rabbits first, and then we'll go from there. What I will do is I'll show you. It doesn't take up, this is not a very big piece. You just take your low-tack tape. You don't want this to slide around. Mine is already slightly bent because the first time I ran it through my die cutter, I had too much pressure. So you want to be mindful of that when you're making any die cut project, that you don't have too much pressure because it will bend your metal pieces. Okay, so that's pretty much how I'm going to put that. So I just take my scissors and cut it. Now this will fit through both your MIDI and your Gemini Junior. I'm going to go ahead and use my MIDI just for speed. Please ignore George. He's a little wound up this morning apparently. Okay, so I've put my bunny inside my folder. I'm going to put it through this way. I like to start out this way with my folders because I've cracked so many of the MIDI folders right here the first time I've put them through. So I start at the base to kind of give the plastic a little bit to stretch out. I've found this works very well, and it never gives me a problem after a few times of moving it around near the base or the middle. If you use your MIDI, you do need to be mindful of the fact that the first few times that you put your folder through, it is going to be a little tougher than normal, and the thickness of the paper affects that. So we've cut this, and this is going to be our top layer. Just gently peel this away. And here is your top layer. And you can see this cut through perfectly the first time. I don't need to poke anything out. It just cut right through. So we'll clean that out in a minute. So the next cut you're going to make is your solid rabbits. So you're going to go ahead and decide where you want it to be on the paper. That looks good. And I am a tape reuser. And again, you're just going to cut it. And I'm going to flip open. And this time I'm going to kind of put it in at a wonky angle. And then flip it closed. Just want to make sure that's not going to poke out. There we go. And we'll just run it through the MIDI. See, and it went through much smoother and much easier this time, because we've already started stretching the plastic a little bit. And there is our cut bunny. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a blending tool or a blending brush. This happens to be one of my blending brushes. And I'm going to go over the edges of the inner part of the bunny. Load it up. Just go around the edges to give it a little bit of color. And then for the next part, you can go ahead and put the MIDI away. All you're going to do is you're going to lay this over top and you're going to glue it in place. Now, can you see how the difference in color there kind of makes the difference in the background? It kind of gives it a little bit more interest, a little bit more, it makes it pop more, I guess is what I'm looking for. So I'm going to use my Collal multi-purpose and the fine tip applicator. And I'm just going to go around and apply, especially around the edge. Okay, this just needs a minute or two to dry so that it's nice and firm before we move on to the next part. So let's let that dry. Okay, we've given this a minute to dry, and now I'm going to take the same color, fuchsia, and go over the outside of the rabbit. And again, it doesn't matter that the ink is on the glass mat, because this is going to be glue dotted onto my board, display board. Okay, and that is the last rabbit that I'm going to make. I just have to add the ribbon. So I actually have a vast collection of ribbon. It's kind of embarrassing, but I'm trying my best to use it all up. This is a really old strand, and it's not double-sided, so hopefully I can do this without making it look bad. There's my bow, maybe just a tiny bit smaller, I think. Yeah. Okay. So we're just going to use some Collal glue and glue that into place. I actually need to refill this. It's almost empty. Okay. So now we're going to bring back in my original two that I did, and that's how easy that is to complete that bunny. I mean, the bunny is so easy. Whoever designed them was brilliant. So as you can see, what I did was I used a more solid-ish type of pattern on the first two rabbits, and that's kind of the look that I was going for. So what I will do is I usually just go ahead and lay out my pattern. Oh, got a piece of my hair caught in there. And then I start gluing with my glue dots. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my glue dots. Now these two ribbons are still going to be loose, so if you're going to do it immediately, this one dried overnight, and I made these two this morning, so just be careful when you're moving them around so that your bow doesn't fall off. Okay, let me grab some glue dots. Okay, so as you can see, I went ahead and glued the pieces down so they have a little bit of depth and dimension because they're raised. And I started putting on my phrase, which is Happy Easter. I'm using vinyl for this part, and I cut it with my Cricut. You can use stickers, you can cut letters on using your Gemini, whatever you choose to do. I will warn you though, if you use vinyl on wood or painted wood, it may or may not stay really well. So what I tend to do is I use the permanent, and then when it's time to take it off, I just use my heat tool and it just peels right away. So this is the Easter part. I'm going to go ahead and attach that off screen because I don't want this video to go too long, and then I will show you the final result. Okay everybody, here's the final piece. It's kind of shaded right now because of where I have it displayed, but see if I can turn it to the sunshine a little bit more. But there it is. So I can either hang it or I can leave it on this table here. Thank you for watching my video today. Let me know if you have any questions.